Hey everybody, it is Megan Ritz with Classic Cakes here for another Tutorial Tuesday. Today we're going to do some gum paste work. I've got all kinds of different items that we're going to make today as we work on the list for the shop this week. The way we do things here at Classic Cakes, we make a list for the entire week's worth of gum paste, and we do it all in one night or one day so that it has time to dry, because gum paste is a lot like fondant, and the way it works is as it sits out in the air, it will dry out and then it will become solid. So fondant stays soft when you roll it out, and gum paste is going to get hard, so we'll hold its shape. So it makes it possible to make things like three-dimensional flowers. We're going to make some butterflies, some fall leaves. We're going to do the cutouts for some animals that we're going to make later. So a lot of these things take more than one stage, and we'll get into that as well. Just some fun things that are going on here. If you have not already, jump over to indiecakeoff.com and place your vote for the showstopper for our cake decorating competition. We have several contestants up there. All their cakes are available to see now, and they are gorgeous. These people spend a lot of time and energy and put their hearts into these cakes, and I would love it if you would just take a moment to go and place a vote for them. Next Sunday we will have the award ceremony where people will get their ratings. The judges are working on those right now, and your votes will go towards that showstopper category as well. Hey Becky, thank you for joining. Hey Dawn. Awesome. So we are gonna do some gum paste. I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. Let's see. So I'm gonna go down our list and kind of just invite you to join us on this behind the scenes adventure that we're gonna have in how we do our gum paste. This is the way I do it. Everyone does it a little bit differently. I like to take my list and I like grab all my stuff. Sometimes we trace things like these animals, and so I cut them out so I can trace them, and then I can kind of bust out the actual gum paste part. So I did the prep work stuff. I've got all my tools. I've got my vodka. I've got some cutters that I like to use for different things. Some little tools here, all kinds of cool stuff. So I'm just going to kind of start at the top and work my way down. Throw me your questions. If I miss stuff, then I will definitely comment back at the end. Hey Kristen, your cake turned out gorgeous. I am so glad that you were able to do that. I hope you feel amazing about it too. Hey Kelly, hey Pam, thank you guys for joining. Hey Nikki. Okay, so one of the other things we do here also, and I recommend this, it works very well, to have a photo sharing or photo saving site. We use Dropbox, and so all of our decorators can have a tablet while they're working, and they can pull up the photos that they need for the orders. So at the beginning of the week, we go through all of the orders, make sure we have everything we need, make sure we don't have any other questions, make sure we have our delivery schedule put together, our gum paste list, our bake list, and we also pull all the photos. So any orders that reference a photo, so this is this week's, we put in this folder and we just name them after the customer on the order. So when I'm doing the gum paste list and it says that I need to make flowers like this particular person's name, I can click on the picture and I know exactly what the flowers are supposed to look like. So it's a really nice way for us to keep organized and make sure that all of us in the whole process here have the same information. Kristen, what was your favorite thing about your cake? I would love to ask you some questions while I have you on here. Kristen is one of the people who did the Indie Cake Off, so make sure that you go over there and vote indiecakeoff.com. All right, so I'm gonna put my gloves on. I'm gonna get started. Gum paste, like I said, is a lot like fondant. It just gets firm, it gets hard. So you handle it very similar way. We'll roll it out. I've got a sheeter back here that I will show you that we use to roll things out so they're all perfectly even. You can do it by hand if you like, or if you're doing it at home. Powdered sugar instead of flour, just like you were doing bread rolls, that keeps the surface from getting sticky. Let's see if I can push you back a little bit here so you can see a little bit better on the work surface that I'm using. Let's see, that should work nicely. So you can see more of my space here. Okay, so let's start with, I'm just gonna roll out some of the gum paste here. and use some of my cutters. We're gonna start with some fall leaves. So we store our gum paste. We make it here from scratch, and we store it in the refrigerator. We double wrap it, and we coat it in shortening very lightly. It just keeps it from drying out, keeps it nice and soft. And I'm gonna keep those over there. So when you roll this out, it's very smooth, nice soft texture. And you just want to knead it a couple of times. And then we can roll it out into the sheets and start cutting stuff out. How thick you cut stuff out just depends on what you're making, what you want it to look like, and how stable you need it to be. Something that's thicker is going to be a lot more stable, but it's also going to take a lot longer to dry. And these things can take, they can just be left out and to air dry. You can stick them in a dehydrator or in the oven at a super low temperature, but it's easy to just leave them out to air dry. Most of the time they're done overnight. Sometimes, depending on how thick the gum paste is, they need a little bit more time. All right, so I'm gonna roll this guy out, and I'm gonna have you join me over here. So this is our sheeter, and you can just hand press this into a thin enough piece to go through the sheeter, or you can roll it out with a rolling pin. I find it easy to just press it into my shape that I want. So I like to walk it down and slowly roll it out thinner and thinner. So I don't need all of this time, so I'm going to cover half of this, and then we'll roll out the other half. And I can just cover this like this, and it can sit and wait for me. You want to keep it covered at all times because it does keep drying out very quickly. Alright, so I've got this rolled up pretty thin. If I was cutting out something that I was going to draw on or needed to be stable like my animals, I would cut it out at this thickness. But for the leaves, we can go a little bit thinner. So this is what I like for my leaves. Really thin. You can almost see through it if you really try. It's just a little bit transparent. It's going to be brittle and fragile, so I'm gonna have to handle it with care. But I'm gonna have really nice, thin, delicate looking leaves. I would do the same thing for my flowers. If I roll it out much thicker, then they look chunky. They don't look delicate. And we want them to look as natural as possible. So I have my gum paste here. And hey Terry, thanks for joining. Terry says, I love learning more about cake. I love it. So I've got lots of cool leaf cutters. Just some fun fall leaves. We have some cakes that need them. I also like to make extras of these things because we can use these for other random projects. So I'm just gonna pick one, and just like a cookie cutter, just gonna press it down evenly and pop that guy out. And so I have this really cute leaf. Now, to take it up a notch, we have these beautiful vein molds. So I can put my leaf on this mold and press it, and then I get all this veining to make it nice and natural looking. And then we'll take these, and then over here, if you would like to join me, I have a tray with some clean food safe rags on them, and I'm just gonna lay them on here so that they're uneven, so that they dry all wavy and bumpy. And the cool thing about that is they're gonna look really natural, and then we can airbrush them whatever colors that we want to airbrush them. So shades of yellow, orange, red, green, whatever it is that we like. Okay, cool. So let's cut out a bunch of these guys. When you have your gum paste rolled out like this, you want to work kind of fast the longer it sits, like I said, the, hey Matt, hey Danny, hey Lori, hey Kim, thank you guys for joining. The more it sits out, the drier it gets. So I like to work in batches so I can work quickly. The other thing I like about this veiner is that it kind of presses it thinner, so it makes it even more delicate. Super easy to use too. So this is something I definitely recommend. And when you make flowers, you can do this the exact same way. There's petal veiners and petal molds as well. So you can do the same thing, and it just makes them look a little bit more real. So we've got lots of leaves that we're gonna do. I've got some little cute flowers we're gonna do. I do love the fall decorations, like the leaves. Hey, Ronzi says she loves the leaves. Awesome. So I have a few of these guys. I'm gonna trade out for another type of leaf. Who knows what kind of leaf this is? Matt, I know you know. What kind of leaf is that? I wish I could remember. Some kind of oak. I'm gonna say bur oak. Who knows what kind of leaf this is? I like my leaves to have a little variety of size as well. So we have these smaller ones and we have some bigger ones we'll put on the cake. Makes it look a little bit more natural as well. Hey guys, thanks for joining. So we are just playing with some gum paste today, doing gum paste for our orders this week. Let's see, got some of those cut out, and I have a different press for the different shapes. Bronzy's son said it looks like an oak. I agree. I don't know what kind of oak, but it's beautiful. Thank you for that. Let's see. All right, and then we've got this nice oak leaf. The thing I like about these veiners too, your cutter doesn't have to perfectly fit. You can do it in pieces, or if it's, you know, if your leaf is smaller than the veiner, then it can just fit in the middle. But like, these aren't a perfect match. These leaves stick over the edge, and that's totally fine. All right, so we got some leaves. Let's do some flowers. We got one more over here. So I like to organize my list in the order that I have, that I need this level of gum paste. So whatever I rolled this out to, so that I can just be as efficient as possible. I've got this piece left here. So let's do some flowers. I have these little plungers, and they're super easy. We're gonna use a foam mat and just push them in so that they buckle up just a little bit, so that they're not flat. And you just push that center plunger in, and it pushes the flower up. Matt says white oak family. Not sure if it's supposed to be specific. It's supposed to be specific. For those who don't know, Matt is my husband, and he is a huge tree nerd. And he should know this one. Alright, so I got lots of these little flowers. So these can just go on my mat over here with my leaves. So there's two ways that you can set gum paste up to dry. You can set it on a towel or on parchment, or you can leave it on a towel or parchment, something that's gonna be a barrier so that it doesn't stick to the surface. or you can set it up on powdered sugar. But when it dries, it is gonna stick to like your pan or your tray. So you wanna make sure that you have something as a barrier there. All right, so I've got lots of gum paste there. Let's do some more of these flowers. This cake needs lots of flowers. We've been doing gum paste here for as long as I know. And the cool thing about it is it allows you to do things that you couldn't normally do, like making things stick up off the cake. You can do a lot of things with fondant and buttercream, but gum paste allows us to really make things dimensional off the cake. So like 3D bows and like the leaves. We can do 3D or two-dimensional animals. All right, so I'm gonna do some of the littler ones. Let's do these big ones, now I'm gonna do the little ones. And the same thing. And these guys take a couple stages. So we are cutting them out today, and then we're going to let them dry overnight. And then the decorators who have the orders will pull them as they need them and color them or paint them. And then when people pick up the cakes, that's when we actually put the gum paste on the cake, because we don't want it sitting in the refrigerator. Moisture is not good for these guys. So if you put fondant on a cake and you put it in your cooler and it starts to sweat, that's the moisture. So what will happen to gum paste is it will start to wilt, so it will start to fall over. You have these cute little flowers. So we definitely don't want that to happen. All that hard work. The other thing I would suggest when we make fondant is we make 2 of everything. So like I'm making more flowers than I need and more leaves than I need. If I'm making an elephant, I'm gonna make 2 in case I break it, because it takes a few days for it to be ready again, and by the end of the week when the cake is going out, I won't have time for it to dry. So that just saves us. That's our little emergency backup. All right, I've got these guys cut out. Let's roll out some more fun gum paste, and we will cut out our butterflies and then our animals. And I've got my little piece of gum paste over here to finish rolling out. Hey Emily, hey, thanks for joining. Dawn says, since they dry hard, do people eat it, or is it pretty much just decorations? Dawn, that's a really good question. I always tell people that it is edible, you can eat it. It's not super delicious. So like if you have a giraffe on your cake, like the kid at the party is gonna love to eat it because it's super fun, but I'm not gonna be super excited about eating it. So both ways. Christine, thank you so much for joining. How do you feel about your indie cake-off cake? Tell me. All right, more gum paste. Hey Nicole. All right, so we just want to keep stuff very smooth. Treat it very gently and with love and care. I do love gum paste. There's something very rewarding about working with gum paste. I think it's the process. Like it takes time to get through the process, and I love that. So these are a little bit different cutters. We're gonna cut them out and then we can press them with this impression. Let's see, Christine. Christine said she expected more entries in the contest. You know what, Christine, we did too. We had more, but I think with COVID, a lot of people just decided that it was too much or that they didn't want to participate. We have a lot of overwhelmed people in the world. And we learned a lot. This was our first year ever doing a competition. So I feel like we learned a lot as well about how to run one a little bit better. So for these guys, if you want to join me over here, I am going to lay them in the corner of the pan so that their wings stay open, so they dry with their wings up. So just a little fun tip. Hi Donna, so happy to see you again. Thank you for joining. All right, so we're just gonna press these guys out. We get those little impressions on them. So we can color these with airbrush, we can hand paint them, we can color them with edible markers. Whatever works. You can add glitter to them. I love glitter on butterflies. Yeah, Christine, I think a lot of people almost didn't submit their entries. It's a really hard time to be focusing on, you know, decorating a cake for a competition. I'm so glad you joined us because we do have a lot of amazing cakes, and yours is one of them, and such creative, unique cakes, and I absolutely love that. It's so cool to see where people came up with stuff, what inspired them. It's so cool to see people stretching themselves and trying new things, and I'm so grateful that you guys joined us. And we have some very cool prizes, and I'm super excited to see where everyone ranks. The judges are working hard on those now. I don't get to know until we all know. I will just be tallying the judges' results, so that's pretty exciting. And tallying the votes on IndieCakeOff.com. Everyone can go there and vote for free for our showstopper for the competition. And Christine and has a cake in the competition. All right, let's see. So I've got some butterflies here. Like I said, I like to just wedge them into the corner of the pan so that they dry like that, and they will hold their position. They'll hold their position. All right, butterflies, flowers, leaves. All right, so I'm gonna actually roll this back up because I need some thicker gum paste for those animals. And this is where it gets a little bit more complicated. I did the easy stuff first. I will show you my tricks for these guys, which I'm super excited about. And then we have some weird other stuff we gotta make too. All right, so I'm just mashing it into my flat little rectangle. And then we're going to put it through the sheeter. So we've got our gum paste through the sheeter now. It's a little bit thicker than it was previously, so I can cut out my animals. I've got a little giraffe. I'm gonna use my cutter here to let's make sure I'm in the screen so you guys can see what I'm doing. And I'm just gonna cut out really roughly around him. So I have my little piece that I'm gonna focus on. And remember, I'm going to cut out 2 of everything to make sure if I break it, I'm safe. Alright, so I've got my giraffes, got my extra piece. So what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to use my X-Acto knife and I'm going to trace these. And all I'm going to do today is trace the outline of these and let them dry. I've got another tray here. Let me get this out of the way. That I have powdered sugar on already. A nice light dusting of powdered sugar. Maybe a little bit more. And all I'm going to do is cut this out and trace it. Trace it, cut it out, and let it dry flat. So then I'll have this like silhouette of this guy. And then we can, once it's dry, we can add fondant or color it or paint it or however we want to make it look like the giraffe. Christine says, as a contestant, are we allowed to vote at the showstopper? Yes, you are definitely welcome to vote. Everybody can vote. Okay, so when you are cutting these guys out, you need to hold the paper still, and the gum paste does stretch. So you want to go kind of slow so that it has time to relax, so you don't stretch it too far. And you want to make sure you're holding stuff in place, especially around the little guys, like the little ears of this guy. I'm also tracing him upside down because I want the mirror image. So the part that's touching the table right now is actually the front. And I will get a cleaner cut edge if I do it that way. Alright, I gotta do his little legs. Alright, so I've got my little giraffe cut out. He can dry, and then we can, let's see, and then we can make him pretty and cute. So let me cut out my second one. Same thing, guys. Elephant is the same way as well. And this is just a very simple technique. But you can trace just about anything, and you can make just about anything out of gum paste, which I find very exciting. We do a lot of stuff in gum paste here. We use a lot of fondant. We occasionally do isomalt and modeling chocolate. But I think gum paste and fondant are the most common things that we use besides just buttercream. Alright, super simple. Knock these little guys out. And if I have little like torn edges, like here, you can actually just push it down with your finger, or you can use a X-Acto and trim that piece off. And then I just store my little paper next to them. So let's do my elephant. What do you do paint with? So you can use an edible like airbrush color to paint by to brush or to airbrush with. Once it's dry, it holds the paint really well. Fondant and buttercream tend to bead up, so they don't hold the paint very well, which is another perk of gum paste. When it dries, it's kind of thirsty because it dried out. So it works really well to hold paint and color, which is nice. I'll have to do another tutorial when these guys have dried to show some of the coloring and airbrushing techniques. I love using the airbrush. We don't use it on cake super often, but we use it on gum paste quite a lot, especially things like flowers and leaves. It's really nice. Alright, so we have our cute little elephant, who I love. He's going to be super cute. Look how cute that is. I love him. Let's see. So after these guys, I need to make some bows. I'll show you guys some 3D bows. I like making bows and flowers. I find them very rewarding. They were really hard for me at first. Like, my brain didn't really understand the process. Whereas with this, you're just tracing, or with the cutters, you're just cutting out. So there's not much brain power required. Once you get used to handling the gum paste, it's quite simple. John says, yes, please. I do have an airbrush that I use on my decorated cookies. I love it. Yes, airbrush works very good for royal icing as well. Dawn, I would love to see some pictures of your cookies. I love cookies. I love the idea of decorating cookies. I find it super fun, but oh, so tedious. All right, so we've got our elephants and our giraffes cut out, and our little paper is on there, so the decorator can use that paper as an easy way to copy like where the ears go, and so they know exactly what they're looking at. They're not guessing from some weird blob. Okay, what are we gonna do next? I did my animals. Let me check my list. Make sure I don't forget anything. Okay, giraffe, elephant, butterflies. How many butterflies did I do? Okay, cool. I did enough butterflies. Oh, I need to do some basketballs. Leaves. Alright, I need to do some bows. I need to do a blue bow. So let's start with a blue bow. And then we can have to do some little pink bows as well. And I have to do, those are tied bows, and I also have to do loop bows. So let me see if I have a picture I can show you of what different bows we're doing. So we need to do some of these little pink bows, little tied bows. So we'll do the bow first, and then the decorator will put the little tails on it when they put it on the cake. But that bow has to dry or it won't hold its shape. It'll like wilt and get sad on the cake. So we've got that bow. We've got a big blue bow version of that. And then I have a loop bow, which I don't have a picture of, but it is lots of little loops that we then put together to make it look like a bow on a present. So let's start with this. We need to do a big, so this is gum paste. I matched a color on a swatch before we started. Nicole, thank you for subscribing. I love it, yes. So we are trying to build our YouTube page. If you followed me last week, I said that this week we were gonna officially be on YouTube Live, but I found out when I was prepping for all of that a couple of days ago that you actually need 1,000 subscribers on your YouTube page in order to be able to go live. I had never even thought about that. So we are going to start moving things over to YouTube as we can. You can watch all of our old Tutorial Tuesdays as well as other random fun videos from the shop on our YouTube channel. If you will go subscribe over there, it's Classic Cakes Carmel at YouTube. That would be really beneficial so that we can build that YouTube page and start doing our lives on YouTube. There's a lot more that we can do on YouTube when we move over there than we can do on Facebook. So, all right, so I have my little smashed down rectangle. I'm gonna roll it out in my sheeter over here. All right, so I've got my nice rolled out our gum paste here. And we're gonna make a bow. And let me see if I have the right things over here. These are a bunch of little tubes that we use to roll out bows, loops, tails, not tails, loops. I have some longer ones that I'm going to use for this bow. Whatever side is down is actually going to be the top of my bow. And this mat has numbers on it. And I like to make mine 13 inches long for my larger ones. And about 2.5 inches wide. It doesn't have to be exact, but I feel like consistency is important. You don't want it to be wildly different on one side or the other, but again, it doesn't have to be perfect. So 1, 2.5. And then we're gonna need to cut a little rectangle. So my bow is gonna be made from this strip and this little rectangle. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna even this out a little because I was a little wobbly. Just make sure it's straight. The neater your foundation is, the neater your bow is gonna look. This is true of pretty much everything. If you ice your cake neatly, then your cake is gonna look a little bit better. All right, so I need to find my middle. So I'm gonna fold it in half and just crease it. So I have this little crease here in the middle. I know exactly where my middle is. And I'm gonna cut a happy face and a frowny face to make it look kind of like a bow tie, an untied bow tie. Okay, so this is where my vodka comes in. Got my little cap, my little cup here. You can use water or lemon extract, super tiny amount of vodka. But the benefit of this is it evaporates very quickly, so it dries very quickly. I just have a clean paintbrush, saturated, and I'm just gonna brush the edges of this. I don't want it to be soaking wet, I just want it to be damp enough to get sticky. And then the gum paste gets gummy. And I can roll this in the middle here. Put my little guys here. This is very important to know where your middle is too, so that they're even. And I'm gonna take this guy and I'm gonna brush the very end. And I'm gonna create this first loop. And I'm gonna do the same thing over here. Brush that end and create that second loop. And so here we have the foundation of our tied bow. This guy is going to go in the middle and wrap that together. So really thin. I just want this to get sticky. I don't want it to be drippy or saturated. I'm just going to wrap this guy. Now these guys need to dry very carefully so that they hold their shape. But once this dries for a day, this will hold its shape, and then you'll have this beautiful bow that you can put on your cake. Alright, so I got that guy. I'm gonna ball this up, and then we need to make some pink ones. Yeah, throw me some hearts if you like the little bow. Got the blue guy. So I'm going to show you a different way to make a bow. That was all gum paste. This is fondant, and I'm going to mix it with my gum paste to make a partial mixture of both. And then I can use that to make my bows too. The gum paste is going to really hold its shape when it dries, and the fondant is going to stay soft. So if I want something to be a little bit pliable, then a mixture is a good way to do it. If I want something, like if I like the texture of fondant better, which I do, it's a little bit smoother. Thank you guys for subscribing. That's so helpful. I love it. That is just an amazing way to help encourage us and keep us going with these lives. So I'm going to knead these together. And my favorite way to knead things together is to use the sheeter. Let's go. So that just saves me some time by stretching it and pressing it together. Christine says, how long does the extra gum paste last? That's a really good question. It will last you quite a while if it's kept refrigerated and if you keep it moist. So like I said at the beginning, we rub it, we ball it up and we'll rub it with shortening. so that it stays moist and it doesn't dry out. It will last you quite a while, like months, probably. And you can know because if you pick it up and it's like rock hard, then it's not gonna work. You can microwave it for like 10 seconds to soften it. All right, so we've got a beautiful ball, a very light pink gum paste fondant mixture here. So I'm gonna roll this out and then we're gonna make some little tied bows, just a little version of the blue one that I just made. So I have more than I need over here, but I would much rather that and not have enough. Alright, so I don't know exactly what size. This is where we kind of have to fiddle, right? The big blue bow, I knew exactly what size I made it because I always make them the same size when they're big like that. Shirley said she enjoyed one of our cakes for her birthday recently. It was delicious. Thank you so much. That's amazing. I love when people get to eat the cake. So we're gonna kind of guess. I'm gonna cut a couple rectangles and fiddle with it and see if it's the size that I want, and then when I get that size, I'll make a pretty one. So I'm just gonna cut a rectangle, and like I said, figure out what size I want the loops, the humps to be. And that actually is kind of what I want. They're going on the side of the cake, so they can't be massive. That's exactly what I want. Okay, so this is what I want. So I just need to make this neat and pretty. And we have to make 4 of these for the cake, so I'm actually gonna make 5 of them. Just to make sure if one of them breaks, we're good. Now if 2 breaks, we're in trouble. That's what the dehydrator and the oven are for. They can rush that drying process along for us. Nancy, hi from Florida. So cool. I love Florida. I have never been, and I still want to go. All right, so I'm gonna make these 1.5 inches wide, and we'll see if I like that. This is kind of the benefit or the disadvantage, I don't know, of guessing. I like it because you get to play a little bit more, but you end up fiddling and it takes more time. I don't like them. I'm going to trim them down a little bit. Just a tiny bit. Have you guys ever played with gum paste? I'm curious. Are you guys cake decorators, amateurs, just curious? What brings you here today? I feel like when I get more specific with the tutorials into like the sugar work side of things, our viewers get much lower in number. But I also feel like I get to connect with you guys a little bit more. So I like rotating through what we're talking about and playing. Nancy says it's nice and warm in Florida. Okay, I think I like these. So I need to do the same thing. I need to cut my little smiley frowny faces. It's exactly the same process. Where I really enjoy the playing part, the creative part, fiddling, figuring out what works. I would love to know what other videos you guys are interested in, what tutorials, what things you'd like to learn. So these don't have to be identical or perfect. They're going to be pretty when I fold them up. Dawn says she's a newbie. Christina's never used gum paste. Christine, you would love it. You've worked with fondant. Very much the same technique. You just get to create different things with it. I think you would really love it. Samantha says she's amateur, just loves to bake. I love it. Amber, what do you like to bake? I'm sorry. Samantha, what do you like to bake? Yes, you guys should totally play with gum paste. If you know how to roll and play with Play-Doh, you could totally kill it with your gum paste skills. Okay, so for these little guys, I don't have to put the support in that I had to put in my bow because it's not a big enough loop. It will actually hold itself. Hopefully, we'll see. Sometimes I'm wrong, and then I run around and scrambling getting little papers and things. So first we're going to, I like to assembly line style do things. I'm gonna get these all wet. They're gonna get gummy in just a half a second. And then I can roll them all together. I don't know about you guys. Are you guys like, when you have tasks, like the dishes or, I don't know, cakes in general, are you assembly line style people? Or do you like to do one thing until it's done and then do the next thing? Like, cause some of the people even here will do each bow one at a time. Whereas I feel like my brain handles this better. It's not even about speed. My brain just likes this better. All right, so I'm gonna move these guys out of my way so I can do one at a time. Oh my gosh, I love all these comments. Thank you guys. Let's see, Kristen. Kristen took the gum paste fondant class back in February. Thank you so much. The vein molds are super fun. I love that you took the class. I'm super excited. We're working on figuring out how we can make classes work again this January and February. Samantha, mostly cupcakes and cookies. Made a few smash cakes. That's so cool. Thank you so much. Yes, practice, guys. Practice makes progress. Perfection is not a real thing. It is amazing to me some of the things that I see our decorators here do, especially the girls who have been at it and are especially talented, like Sarah and Becky and Courtney. Seeing them create things, and then they see the imperfections in them, and to me it's perfect. Perfection is not a real thing. So we get our cute little bows. I'm gonna do my little ends. I love these little bows. Bows were one of the hardest things for me to learn too. I think it's funny, the things that were really hard for me to learn, I like the most. I feel like I had to fight for them. So they're my friends now. I think it's just more rewarding if you have to work at it. Maybe it's not. Maybe I just always have to work at stuff. I don't know. Christine, I take cakes to work mostly for practice. Oh, I bet they love you at work. Alright, so I'm just perking up these bows, making them nice and cute. And then we'll put the little centers in them. They are turning out quite cute. I love it. Thank you guys for playing with me tonight. We have so much work to do this week, in a good way, in a very good way. But I thought it would be super fun if I could work on some of our work and share that side of things with you guys. Share the behind the scenes, so to speak, process. And give you a little taste of what it's like at Classic Cakes. We're very fortunate to have a very big team of people here who are incredibly talented. And they work hard to be more talented every day. I just think that's so cool. Alright, nice perky little bows. I love them. They're not all identical. Totally perfectly fine. I'm happy with that. Alright, so now we need to make the little center rectangle, and these guys have to be smaller. Maybe more like that. Yeah, I like that size. Alright, and then these guys super lightly wet so they get nice and sticky. them, and then we'll have this super cute little tied bows. Love it. I love doing this stuff. Super easy. Fun to play with. Alright, we are rounding the corner here. What questions do you guys have for me? Do you have any questions? I'd love to know what other videos you'd be interested in. I'm working on our list for the holiday season right now of what we're going to teach and play with. And I love getting feedback from you guys. I love them. Super cute. That might be my favorite one. So throw me some hearts if you like the little bows. Show you guys all together. That one went for a ride. Alright, so I've got one more thing I'm going to do. I'm going to show you guys the loop bows. And I think that's going to be it for tonight. Yes, I love seeing those hearts. Keep them coming. Alright, so this is my fondant gum paste mixture. So you want to make sure that when you play with things, you combine them, that you are labeling them well. You don't want to mix up your fondant and your gum paste. You'll be very disappointed if you cut something out of fondant expecting it to be gum paste and it never dries. Samantha, I have a couple of videos, if you go to our YouTube channel, on coloring. I have a video on color theory, and then I also have a video on fall colors specifically if you're wanting to play with fall colors. So definitely check those out. Let me roll out some white gum paste here. All right, we're gonna go back over to the sheet here. So I got a nice big wide piece of gum paste here. And for these bows, I actually have a little template that we use. It's been well loved. So I'm just going to put this under here, and I can actually see the lines through my gum paste. I don't know if you can tell. So I can just trace those with my pizza cutter. And that is how I want my bow to be. Now these guys you want to make, most things there's a lot of room for error. These guys you want to make pretty exact. There's a reason we have a template. You can make your own template super easy. That's all we did here. You just make straight lines. You can make them whatever length you want. The best thing to do is to just fiddle with it until you get them the length that you want. So we're going to cut the strips out. And then I'm going to show you guys how to mold them. And we are going to use these to make one of the bows on a cake. It looks a little bit like a gift box bow. Alright, so we have these guys. And I'm going to take them off my paper. I don't want to get any water on my paper. And I'm just going to very lightly wet the ends so that they get tacky. I don't want to make it slimy and Like if you put a lot of water, then they just slide around real easy. We want them to be very lightly wet. And we're just going to make these loops. Okay, this is all we're doing to start. There's a few steps, but to start, all we're doing is gluing these guys together. You want to be very careful not to smash this side down so they can stay perky. Not perky bows, so they look fluffy and soft. Alright, now I'm going to take that end and I'm just going to cut it into a point. You can use your pizza roller, you can use scissors, whatever you like. It doesn't have to be very extreme. This is just so that it can easily stick into the cake. It doesn't have to be particularly pretty either. We use about 13 of these guys in a bow. Just depends on the size of your cake and the size of your bow. But for this size or standard, we do. Then I'm going to take these little loops and I'm going to put them in here. And they're going to dry just like this. Just sitting on the tray just like this for a little while. Maybe about even half an hour is plenty. And then we'll take these guys out and let them dry the rest of the way overnight. If we leave them in, they will stick and then they won't do very well. And for this, I don't want any powdered sugar on my tray. So I have a nice clean tray and I'm going to line these guys up with my little loops. And that is it, super simple. And then we can airbrush these. You can make them in colors if you want. I like to make them in white and airbrush them. They're very easy to airbrush. It just depends on the color you want. If you want like a really pastel or a really dark color, it is kind of nice to have them in that color. Most dark shades are difficult to get in airbrush because it starts beading up. Alright guys, so they will just dry like this on the tray, just nestled in there together for about half an hour, and then I'll pull those little loops out there, they'll hold their shape and dry the rest of the way. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me for another Tutorial Tuesday. This is Megan Ritz with Classic Cakes. Leave your comments. If you haven't already, jump over to our YouTube channel and subscribe. We have some exclusive content going over there, and we are working to push everybody over there so that we can start doing live videos on that. We need to hit 1,000 subscribers, so if you can share with your friends and family. It is youtube.com/classiccakescarmel. Thank you so much.